Hi, fans of high-quality entertainment. So this is my continuing series. I bet you don't have any of these albums. And once again, it's not to be taken too seriously. I'm sure some of you have some of these albums. And I'm also including 3 CDs that I picked up. So let's start with the CDs. And I might tag Sean Lennon on X or Twitter just to let him know I picked up 2 of his CDs used. Like who would want to part with a album by Sean Lennon? This is Into the Sun. I have not heard it. I think it's on Spotify, but I like to buy the, if I know I want a certain album, I just wait until I get it. So I'm looking forward to listening to this. If you've heard it, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on it. I was trying to look up who did this artwork, but if it's Sean, that's whoever it is, it's excellent artwork. And I also picked up Sean Lennon, Friendly Fire, 2 discs. Yeah, that's got to be his artwork. Ooh, some nudity. Oh, so the second disc is a film. Cool. You know what would be nice for my 20th anniversary on YouTube in February is to interview Sean Lennon. I'm just putting it out there to the universe. And we can talk about music, his music, and his mum's music, and his dad's music. We'll just talk about music. And the other CD I got, not that I really needed it, but it's just nice to have in my collection, because I remember seeing this, of course, back in the 60s, Donovan's Greatest Hits. Of course, I've become a huge fan of Donovan. I've got about 15 of his studio albums. And this is it's got extra tracks on it, too. The Epic label. And a nice booklet. Ooh, some more nudity. We don't need to see that on YouTube. But I will definitely play this. Mellow Yellow, Sunshine Superman, Hurdy Gurdy Man, Where You Love Like Heaven. I love that song. Now we get into the vinyls. And as always, please remember to thumbs up the video and consider becoming a member of my channel. I've got 8 members now, but I try and not brag. So, in total, I've got 16 vinyl records. Let me know how many of these 16 you own. And don't lie. First up, I've never had any albums by this band, and I've heard just a little bit of their music. This is Wishbone Ash Pilgrimage. And these are, as always, they only cost me $1 each. And they're either maybe a little scratch on them or they're warped a bit or something, but it's just fun to show them in a video. Nice gatefold. On the Deca label. Yeah, like the disc is in really good condition, but like I said, it might be warped on Deca. Now this, I recently talked about when I used to disc jockey in the 80s and 90s, and I mentioned this song, which is about 15 minutes long, and we used to always play it. Stars on 45, and what it is, it's basically a Beatles medley, at least side 1, and side 2 is other songs, but there it is there. And what I loved about it was this here. They included part of Sparks' Beat the Clock. You gotta beat the clock, you gotta beat the clock. So I actually got to almost play Sparks at these dances. But yeah. And they sort of sounded like the Beatles, but if you're a real Beatles fan, it's like, that ain't the Beatles. But if you were a casual fan, you might think, that sounds just like the Beatles. Now this artist was a member of the band Yes, but not for very long, and the Moody Blues. Patrick Moraz. I've never heard any of his solo albums. This is called, I guess, just Patrick Moraz. Okay. On the famous Charisma label. I've always loved that label, of course. Also known for Genesis. I never owned this. I did own some albums by Elton John in the 70s, but I never did buy Elton John's Greatest Hits, Volume 2. Great artist, of course. I'm sure some of you have this in your collection on the MCA label. This band, I feel, is very underrated, and they should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a long time ago. And it's not just the three of them. They were a real band, and they were a great band. I'm talking about Three Dog Night. They had quite a few hits in the 70s, and it really is a shame that they're still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is the soundtrack for Thank God It's Friday, Diana Ross, Cameo, Marathon, Thelma Houston, the Commodores, Donna Summer, and many more. Okay, thought that was a gate. Oh, it's 3 records. I didn't know that. Casablanca, right? Yeah. Which, of course, reminds me of Kiss. I bet Bob Sampson, no, Janet Sampson, better known as Bob, has this in his collection. Hello. All right, this was the lead singer for a band called the Hollies, Alan Clark. I've Got Time. Epic label? No, Asylum. Love this band, but never got into, when the two left the band, I never got into their solo career much, but this is Godley and Cream, or is it Creme or Cream? Cream, I think. The History Mix, Volume 1. Yeah, I love 10cc. There's Godley and Cream. On the Polydor label. I always got a kick out of this band. They played at Woodstock, and you know, seeing them on TV in the early 70s, or yeah, the 70s, I guess. Sha Na Na is here to stay. The Buddha Records label. This was a very popular band in the 70s. I like some of their songs. The Best of Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. I got stoned and I missed it on the cover of the Rolling Stone. Thank you. On Columbia. Yeah, Sylvia's Mother, that's a great song. Freaker's Ball. I bought this album when it came out. I enjoyed it. Back in the day. Al Stewart, Time Passages. Record label, Vista. Now this, I used to have on vinyl, and I've got it on CD. One of my favorite bands from the 70s, the sensational Alex Harvey Band. What a great band they were. And Zell Clementson, a very underrated guitarist. On the Atlantic record label. Yeah, I used to really love this band, but not as much anymore. Not, you know, I still like them, but I don't need them in my collection anymore. But back in the day, I used to buy a lot of their albums, and this one was the first one. It was good, but it was kind of a letdown after Eliminator. This is Afterburner. Still, you know, it was a good album. Oh, that's cool. I don't even remember that. That's the custom label, and then this side. Now, Nicholas Pearl, one of my members who watches all of my videos, and he's a Patreon too, he's going to be very happy to see these two. Beach Boys concert. Yeah, I've got that. I've got almost all of the Beach Boys albums on CD, including this one, but I never had it on vinyl. Here's the Capitol record label. Did the original of this not have a gatefold? Because this might be a later pressing of it. And the Beach Boys Love You. That's the one CD. I'm waiting, you know, there's a box set coming out pretty soon and looking forward to that. Records inside here. Brother Records. And finally, once again, I bought this band's albums in the 70s, their first three, and I've got their first three on CD. This is Deaf School, Don't Stop the World. Love that album cover. Here. Once again, a very underrated band. Kind of a little similar to Roxy Music. You know, art rock type band. And here's the CD I have of that. And Second Honeymoon, their debut album. And my favorite, which is English Boys, Working Girls, their third album. And that is it. That didn't take long. So yeah, looking forward to listening to Sean and the Beatles US box set that I just bought. I just did an unboxing the other day. It should be here somewhere if you haven't seen that. And that is it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.